whiskey, Brian Nation. Keeper's Heart is one of the most awarded new whiskeys of the last couple of years, winning over 150 awards to date, including Best Irish Whiskey in the World, and winning a double gold at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. You got to try it. It's available now in the best liquor stores. Look for it on the Irish Whiskey shelf, or you can buy it online. KeepersHeartWhiskey.com. KeepersHeartWhiskey.com. It's a bottle worth keeping.
Weather in the Panhandle never stops. Turn to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with your latest forecast.
We're up to the minute weather reports all day long.
A chance of thunderstorms and moderate rain.
In-depth storm coverage.
Hurricane Helene.
And breaking weather as it happens.
We do have a tropical storm warning.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Good morning. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your forecast on this Wednesday. Clear skies this afternoon and evening with a moderate breeze at 17 miles per hour coming out of the north-northwest, and look for the high to be 77. Tonight, there will be clear skies with the temperature reaching 50. Sunny tomorrow with a wind around 14 miles per hour and the high of 64. Friday, we'll have a high of 63 and sunshine. This weather is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies. New and vintage cards and Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at InstantReplaySportsCards.com.
Your biggest investment is your home. Protect it while also improving its appearance with Earthworks of Northwest Florida. We have sand, mulch, gravel, or lay-down decorative stone, all available for pickup and delivery. Discover your dream landscape with Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Imagine the moment you proudly pull up to your home that you've worked so hard for, enhanced by quality mulch, decorative stones, and more. Let's make it happen today. Request a quote online at earthworkspc.com or swing by the office at 2005 Industrial Drive. Love the land you live on.
The future depends on teachers. Every day, teachers are shaping our tomorrows, starting their students on journeys that will change the course of history. Right now, in a classroom somewhere in the United States, there's a teacher inspiring a future scientist who will make preventing pandemics their life's work, sharpening the mind of an aspiring environmentalist who will help combat climate change, and generating possibilities for a student who will be the first in their family to graduate college. It all starts with teachers who meet challenges with creativity, who reinvent education for the future, who work towards a school system that lifts up every child, regardless of race, income, or zip code, and to enable the full potential of our students, our communities, and our country. Explore a career that leaves a legacy you can be proud of. Shape the future. Teach. Learn more and receive free support at teach.org.
This is the sound of confidence soaring.
Our mission is to educate, inspire, and honor.
This is the sound of honor roaring.
We should never, never forget those that gave their lives.
This is the sound of a generation rising above.
337 for Bravo Fox Papa.
We want to be involved in the education of young people so that they can take our aircraft and the stories that our pilots tell and realize their own dreams.
The Commemorative Air Force honors the heroes of yesterday while educating and inspiring the heroes of tomorrow.
Your future and how you live your life is dependent on how you think.
You can learn more at commemorativeairforce.org right now.
WPLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Illuminated. Powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's the next latest evolution of sports talk radio. The biggest stories and the biggest reactions.
Now.
And now we're taking...
With the first pick.
This is the last ball you got to bat.
The Inside Drive. From college to the pros. Interviews with the newsmakers, sports betting, your phone calls, and more. And now, The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey. Broadcasting from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios on ESPN Northwest Florida.
And good Wednesday morning. You're listening to The Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. 104.3 Panama City Beach, all of our great surrounding areas here in Bay County and beyond. You can also listen to us on 101.9 in Port St. Joe along that beautiful Forgotten Coast. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, just search it up, ESPN Northwest Florida. We stream live daily, every day, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9, the Coach James Hale Show, 11 to 1, right here with the Inside Drive, and of course, the Afternoon Underdogs from 4 to 6 p.m. 3 great local shows that you can watch live or go back and watch them after the fact. All you got to do is search up ESPN Northwest Florida on those social channels. And of course, you can download our free mobile app inside the Google Play or Apple Store. If you've already downloaded it, we appreciate that very much. If you haven't, what's taking you so long? All you got to do is go in there, and Jay, what do you search?
104.3.
Boom, and then it pops right up there. You download it on your phone, you open it up, you've got ESPN Northwest Florida streaming wherever you have cell or Wi-Fi service.
You don't need no credit card to ride that train.
No money, no choo-choo train. Well, I mean, you have to have a cell phone and service.
Oh, yeah.
Technically,
that's true.
You know. Yeah. If you have an iPad, though, it'll work too.
Mm-hmm.
It'll work too. Mm-hmm. But you know what's funny? I just thought of something. That I drive kids a lot in cars.
Yeah.
Younger, obviously middle school age and younger. They think that, they have, a lot of them have cell phones now, obviously. They think that, like, your service, they're like, oh, I don't have any Wi-Fi right now. Like, I don't think that they don't understand the difference between cellular network and Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
They think everything is Wi-Fi.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
And I try to explain, like, no, it's just the evolution of everything since obviously we've been, coming up through.
Right.
But they're like, you just hear them say, oh, I don't have any Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi is not working. I said, well, you're not connected to Wi-Fi.
Nope.
We're driving on the road. Like, this is your cellular network.
That's right.
And it was a little disconnect between, like, what the actual technology is.
Yep.
Made me think of that when you said, when I said Wi-Fi, talking about our free mobile app that you can download inside the Google Play or Apple Store. Then, of course, head over to ESPNPC.com. Scroll down just a little bit. We're watching it in the studio right now. That is Lucid Streams TV, currently offering a free 3-day trial. But after that, use code ESPN-NW for just $40 a month. Over 2,000 streaming channels, over 10,000 movies on demand, all the pay-per-view events, all the movie channels, all live and local sports, including, you're wanting to watch some of that regional coverage from wherever you're from. You can find that right there on Lucid Streams TV. Just head over to ESPNPC.com, follow the prompts, they'll send you email, get you hooked up. I know we've had a lot of listeners that have done that as well. Jay, how are you today?
I'm doing mighty fine, Ryan. How you doing?
I'm doing good. The sun's out shining again. We had a bunch of rain go through yesterday, and it's about as warm as it's going to be right now for probably the next week to 10 days.
That's right.
I saw some 4s in front of the low temp tonight. So it's Thanksgiving is next week, a week and a day, and that usually means we start seeing those cooler nighttime temperatures, which is fine. We got to have a little bit of a cool down here in Northwest Florida. So,
have you converted your closet over to winter wear yet?
My closet's I'm covered on both.
Oh, okay, I got you.
But with me, obviously, not doing my normal gig for the last however long this has been going on. I wear a lot more casual clothes than I used to. So obviously wearing a little bit more dressy today. Got some things to do this afternoon. But yeah, no, I'm very OCD when it comes to that kind of stuff. Yeah. So unfortunately, my organization tends me to. What about you?
Now, does your winter wear move to the front of the closet and then your summer goes to the back closet to save you a step or two?
Listen to Mr. Moneybags over there, who's got 2 separate wardrobes.
I know, right?
2 separate.
Well, see, if you want to dive into it.
Summer wardrobe?
I've got sections, right? I've got sections for hoodies, pullovers, polos, pants, shorts. Everything's got a section, so there's not a lot of rotation. Luckily, I have enough space to kind of work with that. But I do remember in the past you got to rotate and bring out things, though. Hoodies never go away from me, though. Hoodies are always available.
Yeah,
because you can still wear a hoodie, in your air conditioning, 73 degrees in your house. Throw a hoodie on; it's comfortable.
That's true. Yeah.
What about you? You started your rotation yet? You're outside pretty much every day.
I am.
Working.
No, mine stays about the same. Yeah, I think it, my closet's probably no bigger than the studio. Or I'd say half the size of the studio, so I don't really have to, maneuver that much. But, we'll just kind of see how it plays out.
The nice thing about our area is, it can start out a little cool, but by the time that sun comes out and, 65 and no wind, it's pretty warm, compared to, 55 and a bunch of wind. So,
what do you do with your belts?
My belts are all hung up.
Are they?
Yep. Organized on a hanger.
Gotcha.
It's kind of my thing. Organization's kind of one of my favorite things.
All right.
I don't know. But ties too. Ties are all hung up, organized as well.
Yeah. What's your favorite tie?
Ooh, I got several bow ties. When I worked at the club in South Carolina before coming down to Bay Point, I wore bow ties all the time. Traditional old Southern club. I mean, the clubhouse was an 1848 plantation home, so it just had that old school Southern charm to it. So a lot of times on the weekends, Sundays, we wear bow ties.
Like the Mark Twain type bow ties or traditional
bow ties? Traditional bow tie. I think I forgot how to tie it now, but I was doing good there for a little while on tying them. But yeah, I mean the clubhouse building was all made out of heart pine. It was original, all the actual handmade nails put that clubhouse together. So it kind of went with our theme. When we had member guests and big tournaments, we always typically wore, sport coats, bow ties.
Back in the day, I went to Cox to get some seersuckers, but ended up at Sears and nope, never mind. Yep.
Nice. I wasn't really paying attention, but I kind of heard it at the back of my head there.
You remember that one?
Oh yeah,
you remember that?
Yeah.
Seersuckers.
I still have a pair of seersucker pants.
Yep.
I always wanted a seersucker jacket.
I never had the jacket, but you never had the jacket.
Nope, never had the jacket. Had the pants. They were pink. I also had a pair of green seersucker pants.
Yeah.
And they got too small, and I was very disappointed.
That does seem like the lowland, like the South Carolina.
Oh, yeah, the Carolina coast.
Yeah.
You have Georgia coast,
right.
Your Ford's plantations, places like that, kind of the old school traditional golf. A lot of those places still have caddies. There's a lot of really nice places along the coast of Carolina or South Carolina and Georgia when it comes to those type of golf courses. You ever play Secession Country Club?
No,
Charles Haley always wears that.
Yes.
I had the fortunate one time with I think it was either Club Car or Easy Go. We had an opportunity to go play there. That was a unique experience and a really, really cool golf course. Tough golf course.
Oh yeah,
tough golf course. Reminds me a little bit of around here, but just different style. A lot. I don't say nicer, but just higher end. Higher end.
I'm with you.
But simple.
Yeah.
Simple, high end. Yeah, a lot of guys have been pros there at those clubs for 30, 40, 50 years, and it's kind of still the old school golf business hanging on a little bit. We talked about it yesterday too with a lot of these clubs up in the Northeast. I mean, you've got guys that are head pros at these places for 25, 30 years, and those jobs don't come open until they either retire or move on to something bigger and better, which doesn't happen very often. But those gigs are so few and far between nowadays. Those kind of traditional golf pro roles where it's just such a business nowadays, like anything is, and you're spending more time diving into financial spreadsheets than running the operation of the golf course. But
it's kind of crazy, because me and you are so similar in that, because I started at Sea Island, and that was the thing everybody talked about. Me being 21, I was like, oh man, you're going to end up at a nice club somewhere, blah blah blah. And I end up on ESPN radio.
See, there you go. You never know. There's no planned journey. You're
there
just
is
for the ride.
That's right.
But also, that time, the golf professional era too. That time, I mean, that's you're working 80, 90 hours a week. You don't do anything else but spend time at that golf course. So, a lot of people kind of switched away from that lifestyle a little bit.
That's right.
You just don't see that as much anymore because obviously that work-life balance has certainly come into play. But I mean, that was it. I mean, the club I worked at, the high-end private club in New Jersey. I mean, those guys worked 7 days a week. They got there at 6 a.m. They left there at 6 p.m. They played golf a lot of bit. But I mean, outside of that, that's all you did.
No, that's it.
That's all you did. The golf pro owned the golf shop, so he handled all the merchandise. You had caddies. We had a caddy master that took care of all the caddies. There was no carts being rented. So just there's a lot of different facets. Down here in Panama City Beach, it's such a resort area, and your golf courses are just, I would say, untraditional. Just kind of fit the demographic of the area. But golf business certainly far and wide.
Oh, I was going to say, my buddy Scott Porter, at Noonan Country Club, his wife, he's got an 8-month-old little boy named Jet, and I was texting with him over the weekend. She got a job up at Vanderbilt University Hospital as a nurse or something. Yeah. So, Scott's been in that traditional 80, 90-hour work week, and he gives lessons on the side and stuff, but he texted me over the weekend and said, hey, Jay, I'm going to raise Jet and give a few online golf lessons, and I'm starting to see a lot of that more where the woman's going into the work field and the husband's doing some sort of side gig and raising the kids. It's crazy how things have changed in the last 20
We'll find you
years.
one of those.
Yeah, I need one.
We'll auction it off right here on the air. Give me $100 here, $100, 120. Who's got 120? 150. We'll make it happen for you.
Have you done that before?
No, that was a short clip. If I would have kept going, it would have got worse. It would have got worse, that's for sure. But especially in the golf space, man. And that's one thing. It's been tough. Entry-level golf professional positions back 30 years ago, you're getting, $21,000 a year working 90 hours a week. Yeah. You get some lessons in there to supplement it, but it was kind of like the rite of passage to get where you needed to be. Now, thankfully, it's turning around a little bit because they were starting to have a tough time backfilling a lot of these professional roles because of the pay and the hours and all of that.
But let's go back to that.
All right, let's go
back to that because I remember the $21,000 base salary and I remember the 80 hours. But I also remember the members back in the day that were wanting your 1 hour golf lesson. Yeah. And dude, you would do almost anything not to go do it. Yeah. Because they worked you so hard for 80, 90 hours. And fortunately, now that I've gotten into the teaching side of things and realized, but they worked you so hard for 80 hours until when it got to be that 1 hour lesson with that member is like, God, please, will it rain so I don't have to do this?
And it's extra income, but you're,
So anyways.
I don't know. But now there's the labor laws and your overtime, because that was the thing. Like back then, I think your overtime exempt was like 24/5, something like that. If you made 24/5 or less, you didn't have to, you could work overtime and they didn't have to pay you. Now it's all the way up to almost $40,000 a year.
Right.
So that kind of impacted the golf business as well, where you had these guys getting paid $25,000 a year, working 100 hours a week, and the club was basically just taking them to the cleaners.
Yeah.
And now obviously those labor laws change with the exempt versus non-exempt on the tax side of things. So that was a big deal for the golf business because that kind of changed a lot of these guys. Not that, $40,000 working at 100 hours a week is any better, but at least it's double what you were getting before. So
well, in 99 and look, I don't know how Sea Island got away with this, Ryan, but
sometimes those big time places get away with a lot.
In 1999, I was making 21,000 base, but it was a salary position. But anytime after 40, they paid me half of my hourly rate. So it was. And I don't know what you call that. Surely in today's world, you
call that being screwed.
Yeah. So not only was I making $9 an hour, after 40, I was making $4.50 an hour after 40.
So the correct way would have been to be getting time and a half. But instead of not paying you at all, I guess they're like, well, here's a little tiny bit, I guess.
Yes.
Because the non-exempt, like you could work as many overtime hours as you want and not get paid an additional dime based on that original salary if you were exempt at that point.
Right.
So it sounds like they were, I don't know, throwing.
So your base salary, but we're just going to pay you half. It is weird, man. It was weird. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, with all this being said, the golf business has certainly changed over the last 10 plus years or so. And it goes back to the family dynamic. It goes back to, it's not just you going to work and you're never seeing your family. It's that work-life balance is a big part of kind of where we are at now in society. But pivoting just to some fun facts here, some different things. The first segment I always try to kind of just jump around a little bit, but per Netflix, Jay, the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight had 108 million people tuned in for the fight, and 56% of all the United States TV viewing between 12 a.m. and 1 a.m. Eastern Time was devoted to the fight. 108 million people in an hour's time period were tuned into that Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight. Just to see Mike Tyson pull some punches and not look too good.
That's crazy.
So obviously the goal of it, but do you think we'll we'll ever get to that level again with a fight and an exhibition fight. That's a loose term there.
Maybe, but it would have to be like a man versus animal type situation.
Hey, maybe you're onto something.
Like Tyson versus an alligator or something like that.
I don't think that'll go well for Tyson.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, goodness.
He'll bite his ear off.
They both got the same kind of bite.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
they do.
Absolutely. I bet Tyson can open his mouth a little better than the alligator, though, can right?
Right.
Forget what that pressure is, but it's a lot going down, not a whole lot opening up. Yeah. On the NBA side, obviously, we had Doc A yesterday, and I don't know if you remember, Jay, he was talking about some of the people to pick up, and he had mentioned Dalton Knecht. He was the Lakers' first-round pick out of Tennessee. Well, if you were happen to play fantasy basketball, or if you just put a bet on Dalton Knecht yesterday, he went off in the Lakers game against the Jazz. He scored 37 points in 38 minutes. He made 9 3-point field goals, which tied an NBA rookie record. So, like we were talking about with Doc A yesterday, obviously Dalton Knecht it's been a great pickup for the Lakers, a great draft pick, and doing some good things. No doubt. So if you're listening to Doc A yesterday, that certainly came to fruition. Also, the Cavs, they lost their first game yesterday. The Boston Celtics took them down.
Doc A called that one too.
He did. It was coming. The one he didn't call is the Spurs ended up beating OKC even without Wemby. But that's okay. One out of however many I can handle. But yeah, Cleveland Cavaliers, they were trying to become the second most winning streak to start a season behind the Lakers. The Warriors that did it several years ago, that was 24 straight. They were trying to get to 16 yesterday. And then obviously Jason Tatum was kind of in the way of that yesterday. Although the Celtics they were up pretty significantly at halftime, and the Cavs did try to come back. But the final score of that one, the Boston Celtics beat the Cavs 120-117 in the NBA Cup game, ending that Cavs historic win streak at 15 games, tied for second best ever, just behind the 15-16 Golden State Warriors, who won 24 straight, Jay, to start that season.
Wow.
It was 65-48 at halftime, so you kind of thought like it was going to get out of hand, but just a couple minutes, the defending champs pulled away after a late surge from Cleveland. Jason Tatum dropped 33 points, 12 rebounds, and 7 assists. Al Horford, Derek White, Jaylen Brown had 20, 19, and 17 each, and Donovan Mitchell had another fantastic night with 33 points there. But the Celtics knocked that streak over. I think sometimes when you're on these streaks, it's one of those things. It's okay to lose it because now you're focused on just playing basketball again, or whatever sport you're playing, and not so much focusing on what's happened. Trying to keep that streak alive, because at the end of the day, it just matters about making the playoffs and doing good.
Yeah.
Some other developments that came out of the some meetings yesterday, but the GM for the Jets got fired. We broke that on the show yesterday. But back in September, Jets owner Woody Johnson suggested benching Aaron Rodgers. Some of the news that came out yesterday when The Athletic was reporting about the team's inner working. According to their sources, the day after the Jets lost to the Denver Broncos on September 29th, there was a contentious meeting at the team facility. It included Johnson, Douglas, Vice Chairman Christopher Johnson, Team President Jaime Alai, and Ira Axelrod, an advisor to Johnson, and also included the group of coaches: Salah, offensive coordinator at the time, Nathaniel Hackett, then defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich, and special teams coordinator Brant Boyer among them. The coaches had been called to explain what happened during their units, during their 10-9 home loss to the Broncos. During that meeting, Johnson suggested to the coaches that they bench Aaron Rodgers in favor of Tyrod Taylor because he thought Rodgers' performance was holding the team back. The coaches and Douglas, stunned at the suggestion, talked him off of it and convinced Johnson to stay the course, and that benching Rodgers with his pedigree 4 games into the season would not sit well with the locker rooms. The coaches also thought that it would embarrass Rodgers. The idea of benching the future Hall of Famer sounds so absurd that one coach asked whether the owner was serious. Multiple sources from that meeting believed he was. Johnson was calmed that day, but then set the tone for what happened 1 week later on October 8th. We all remember Johnson made the decision to fire Robert Salah without consulting his general manager or literally anyone else on that team. Jay, so far the tough season for the Jets. They did start 2-1 after week 3 and were second in the AFC. Roll around to week 7, they acquired wide receiver Davante Adams from the Oakland Raiders. They dropped to 2-4. Week 6, they fired Robert Salah right before they got them, and then, of course, now here we are about to approach week 12, and they are 3-8 and fired general manager Joe Douglas there.
That is
what do you think about the potential possibility of Aaron Rodgers being benched by the owner?
Oh, man. I mean, if he's not performing, he's not performing.
Yeah.
I mean, but the thing is, the morale part of the team at that point, when you've got a veteran and you're going to sit him, that's kind of the gamble that you take.
Yeah, and luckily the rest of the team certainly talked him off the bed. But hey, maybe if he does and Tyrod Taylor comes in, maybe it changes some things up.
Yeah.
But just goes to show you, just because you were really good for a long time doesn't mean you can continue that into the later ages of athletics. Unless,
Mike
of course,
Tyson?
Mike Tyson. I don't know. I think you'd put LeBron James in that.
Yeah, LeBron.
We talked with Dake about that yesterday.
Yeah.
But and then speaking of, I want to get your thoughts on this. I'm going to run just a couple minutes over in this segment because I don't think I've asked you about this one yesterday. This is a hockey thing. Do you know who Alexander Ovechkin is? One of the premier players in the NHL and has been for at least the last 20 years. Basically, he is on the cusp. He's approaching Wayne Gretzky's goal record. I don't know if I've talked to you about this yet or not, and it's something I've been kind of paying attention to because Gretzky's points record will never be broken. His assist record will never be broken, but this goal record has a chance to be broken. And what's even crazier now is Alex Ovechkin is having a ridiculous year that he may not only break it, but now he has an opportunity to do it in fewer games than Wayne Gretzky did. Wayne Gretzky had 894 goals in 1,487 games played. Alexander Ovechkin currently has 866 goals in 1,443 games played. If he scores 29 more goals in the next 44 games, he'll hit 895 in fewer games. Absolute madness that is an opportunity to potentially have that happen.
No doubt.
But my question to you, Jay, is what do you think about these kind of records? Do you like to see these records be broken, or do you like these records to stay records and something that people are always trying to achieve? Maybe I have asked you about this.
Well, no, I would like to find out first and forehand who is the person that's going to achieve this. Is that one of their goals?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it may not even...
It's a pun.
It's crazy. Yeah, it may be crazy to think this, but I think there's some of these people that it's not even on their radar.
Yeah. Well, and the Gretzky records were so big for so long. I mean, his points record is just astronomical.
Yeah.
And he did it in such a young age. And real quick, before we take a break, also having a young sensation. He's 27. He's been in the league for a little while now. Connor McDavid. He is now the third youngest player to reach 1,000 points. He's 27 years old, 306 days. He's behind Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, and Stevie Y. I don't know if you know who Stevie Yzerman is, but he's got to 1,000 points for the Edmonton Oilers. What's crazy is Wayne Gretzky did it by the age of 23 years old. That record obviously will probably never, ever, ever be broken. And of course, Mario Lemieux at the age of 26, Stevie Y at the age of 27, and a few less days. But we'll go ahead and take a quick break, Jay. When we get back, I'm going to talk about the college football playoff rankings that came out last night. You're listening to The Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida.
This just in. Get the latest sports news, scores, and updates from 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Follow us on Facebook for exclusive content, behind-the-scenes action, live streams, and the chance to interact with your favorite hosts.
Stay connected. Stay connected. Stay connected.
Join the conversation on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Search for ESPN Northwest Florida and crush the follow button.
I follow you on social media.
We're always here to keep you in the game.
Good morning. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your forecast on this Wednesday. Clear skies this afternoon and evening with a moderate breeze at 17 miles per hour coming out of the north-northwest, and look for the high to be 77. Tonight, there will be clear skies with the temperature reaching 50. Sunny tomorrow with a wind around 14 miles per hour and the high of 64. Friday, we'll have a high of 63 and sunshine. This weather is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
Live from the 19th hole.
I can't believe you're a professional golfer. I think you should be working at the snack bar.
It's the Inside Drive from the Bill Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studio.
The price is wrong.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And welcome back. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. 104.3 here in Panama City and Panama City Beach. We've got your Auburn Tiger football, NFL action all weekend long, select Orlando Magic games. You don't want to turn it off. You don't have your app, download it. Because not all the time you're going to be in your car.
That's right.
So you got to download that free mobile app so you can hear us wherever you indeed are. All right, Jay. College football playoff ranking came out last night about 6:30, 7 o'clock-ish with the new updated rate. Now, again, I always put this caveat when we talk about this rate. Like, this is not where it's going to end because you still have to have your conference champions to determine, your 4 top-ranked conference champions will be your number 1 through 4 seeds who get that bye, obviously, through the first round. But before we dive into the college football playoff rankings, there's definitely been some conversation between the SEC and the Big Ten conferences, trying to figure out who's the best conference. Is it the SEC? Is it the Big Ten? Who really is it? And some of the arguing facts going back and forth are calling out the SEC for playing FCS teams in November. They're also the word on the streets. The SEC is overrated, and the Big Ten is indeed the best. Indiana and Penn State could simply not handle the grind of playing Mercer at home in November. And then, of course, it kind of goes on to compare a lot of these. Because the SEC is still only playing 8 conference games, potentially moving to 9 conference games down the road. Obviously, that has to do with money and ESPN money and that kind of stuff. They're not going to move to that until they start getting paid to do it. But, it's kind of working into these rankings because each week we kind of see what the committee's doing, and they're looking at these teams as a whole, who they've played, the level of competition, and obviously we've got the rankings upon us. One team is officially in, though, Jay. You know what team that is?
Oregon.
You are correct. The Oregon Ducks are officially clinched a spot in the Big Ten Conference title game. They hadn't officially announced it until last night, but basically every scenario that could transpire still has Oregon being in the Big Ten Conference Championship, which certainly not guarantees them a spot in the play, but most likely guarantees them a spot. But they are officially in the first team that has clinched a spot in the conference playoff game. So with that being said, I'm just going to go through the top 25 here real quick, Jay, and then we'll talk about the bracket itself. So the actual top 25, Oregon number 1, Ohio State number 2, Texas number 3, Penn State number 4, Indiana number 5, undefeated, Notre Dame number 6, Alabama up there to number 7, Miami up to number 8, and then, of course, Ole Miss at number 9, Georgia at number 10, Tennessee 11, Boise State 12, SMU 13, right there on the cusp of that top 12. BYU dropped the most spots this week after losing to Kansas this past weekend. Texas A&M at number 15, Colorado moved up a spot to 16, Clemson now at 17, South Carolina 18, Army at 19. The Tulane Green Wave jumped up several spots after a nice victory this past weekend. Arizona State still vying for a Big 12 championship game appearance. Iowa State 22, Missouri 23, UNLV at 24, and then another big team, the Fighting Illini, cracking the top 25 in the college football playoff ranking. All right, Jay, now let's talk about the bracket. All right, let me, I thought I had it up. Maybe I didn't. All right, let me find the bracket. All right, Jay, let's see. Oh, there it is. All right, so your number 1 seed, obviously, Oregon Ducks. They're and the one, like I said, the 1 through 4 seeds, that's your projected conference champion. So the highest ranked conference champion, and it goes in that order. So currently Oregon is number 1. Number 2 is the University of Texas. Obviously, the game, not this weekend, but next weekend after Thanksgiving, that Texas A&M game, the first time they've played since 2011, is most likely going to determine who would be playing in that conference championship game.
So they could knock one of them out of the top 12 next weekend?
Probably not out of the top 12, but the conference championship.
Yeah.
So if you play in the conference championship, you're going to get into the playoff. If you win your conference championship, you automatically get one of the top 4 seeds.
Okay.
If you're the higher ranking team.
Right.
So that game is obviously going to be massive for all the SEC implications when it comes to that. Number 3, the projected ACC championship is the Miami Hurricanes. Although SMU is right there with them, still a lot to get figured out on that one. And then kind of an interesting one, and I was kind of, I don't want to say surprised, but interesting to see the way the committee did it. But the number 4 seed, despite not being in a Power 4 conference, the Boise State Broncos from the Mountain West, they got put into that 4th spot because using the current rankings, Oregon, Texas, Miami, and Boise State would be the 4 highest rated conference champions and would receive first round buys into the 12-team playoff. BYU dropped all the way down to 14, so that pushed Boise State into the top 12, which gets them that 4th seed. That is not how it's going to end up, but if it stopped right now, that's how BYU would end up Boise State from a group of 5 conference would end up having a bye. So it's you're starting to see how the committee is starting to shape everything and how they're starting to kind of determine what teams. But going outside of those top 4, your number 6 seed right now would be Penn State. They would take on your Georgia Bulldogs, the 11th seed. Winner of that game would take on the Miami Hurricanes in the first quarterfinal matchup there. Number 5 seed would be The Ohio State University taking on those BYU Cougars with a potential path to play the Boise State Broncos should whoever win that game. It's still kind of crazy with this thing. Oregon, it's almost like you don't want to be the number 1 seed.
Right,
because,
I'm looking at it.
Yeah, if you're looking at the bracket right now, it's just a much more difficult path, so to speak, at least in that first round. Again, where it stands right now. Right. We still got 3 more weeks of this thing before we really know what we're doing, but obviously it's certainly a lot of fun to talk about as each new ranking comes out. And speaking of who would be playing Oregon if they win, that is Alabama and Notre Dame. Notre Dame not playing in a conference, so they will not be eligible for one of those top 4 seeds, but as of right now have them projected playing the number 9 seed Alabama. Already talked about Penn State and Georgia, the 6 and 11 seed with a trip to Miami on the line. Again, hypothetically speaking.
Right.
And then, of course, Indiana and Ole Miss. Winner of that game would, hypothetically, play the Texas Longhorns. What you think, Jay?
SEC is strong. I mean, if you think about Texas and Texas A&M, and you still haven't even talked about Georgia and Alabama and South Carolina, I mean, back to that, I think the SEC is still the strongest conference in the nation. Al, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think from your top to bottom, yeah, absolutely. Now, they've kind of beat each other up a little bit. And what the argument from the Big Ten is that, they're not playing 9 conference games. So some of these off games, like it's not necessarily helping their college football playoff rankings and stuff like that. So I think that's where the pseudo argument is right now. But obviously Texas and Texas A&M both 5-1 in the conference. And then you got 4 teams all with 2 losses, and still and all those 2-loss teams are technically in the playoffs right now, with the Gamecocks and LSU and Missouri kind of being on the outside with 3 losses. And it just doesn't look like it's going to shake out where a 3-loss team is going to make the playoffs in this first go around. But yeah, you got 2 undefeated teams, the Oregon Ducks and the Indiana Hoosiers, and a big game coming up this weekend. That is Ohio State and Indiana. Ohio State just lost its its backup center. I found that out last night. So, obviously Indiana's on this huge heater. Their coach just got extended, trying to go to the Big Ten championship game, and kind of came out of nowhere. But they got one big team kind of in their way this weekend. That's the Ohio State Buckeyes. I think that's a big noon kickoff, 11 here in the Central Time Zone.
Do they have a backup center?
I would think so. You would rotate another lineman in.
It's a tough. I mean, that center's not talked about enough, and
they're the most important position on the offensive line.
They're the gatekeeper.
They're the one usually changing the protection, calling the offensive line plays, all that. But it's Ohio State, right? They should have depth.
Yeah, they should.
Although in this day and age, depth is certainly a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
But yeah, so college football playoff rankings are out. The projected bracket, everybody's diving into it, picking it apart. But really, we got next week and then the week after that. And then you have conference championship games, and we'll still learn a lot more. Any team that's in there right now, Jay, that you think won't be in there come the final college football playoff rankings?
Oh, boy.
And there you go.
There
put it back up for you. It's like on command.
UNLV.
Top 12.
Oh, top 12?
Yeah.
That won't be there? Oh, boy. I mean, Alabama's going to take care of business over Auburn. Tennessee. What about Vanderbilt and Tennessee? Is Tennessee playing Vandy the last? That could potentially be a wrecker.
But
they typically play each other at the end of the year.
Let me see the schedule. Hold on. I don't know that one off the top of my head. But they're both not in it right now. And Tennessee has to win out to have a chance to get in it. Let me find Tennessee. All right. Tennessee. Yeah, they're... or they already play Vandy. No, yep, they play Vandy the day after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
At Vanderbilt.
So that could be potentially...
Yeah, I mean, they've got UTEP coming up next, University of Texas El Paso, and then they finish with Vanderbilt. So really, though, that loss to Georgia this past weekend kind of knocked Tennessee out. Something crazy would have to happen in order for Tennessee to get in, because they should really win both of those football games.
Yeah.
But, what do you think? Like, any chance, let me go back to the bracket and see here. Any chance, obviously Ole Miss has to play Florida this weekend.
Oh,
Florida's trending in the right direction. DJ Lagway doing some amazing things. They're picking up more recruits. So Ole Miss could end up losing that one. If Ole Miss ends up losing that one, they could slide themselves right out of the college football playoff as well. Currently in there, but like I said, I just don't see a 3-loss team this year anyway getting into the playoffs. Let's see where Ole Miss Rebels are here. Yeah, they got 2 losses right now, right? They lost to Georgia. No, they beat Georgia. Yep, 2 losses, 4-2. It's we're working towards that super conference action. That's for sure. Anybody else on there? You think BYU ends up making it in?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, holding down that group of 5 quote unquote spot right now.
Yeah.
Now that Boise, or not group of 5, but Boise State's the one that stole that.
Right.
It's interesting. It's certainly making it. How can Miami win the ACC in their place playing championship if they're in the ACC? Well, because they still kind of hold the keys in front of them there, Chef Ross. Let me pull up Miami's schedule here real fast. I'm scrolling like a champion. Miami Hurricanes. Yeah, I think they got to play.
This weekend's certainly going to make all those decisions a lot easier. I mean, the games are stacked up on top of each other over the weekend, so we're going to have a lot of changes in the rankings and standings and injuries, and it's all going to change this weekend.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, SMU, Indiana, probably some teams we weren't talking about before the season started about being serious contenders here in the college football playoffs. But the Ohio State-Indiana game obviously is a massive one for both Ohio State and Indiana. Obviously, Oregon's already in the championship game, so they will likely await the winner of that one. But hey, Penn State's knocking right there at the heels as well. Miami 5-1, SMU 6-0, Clemson 7-1, but Miami is 9-1. So I think that's where if Clemson were to drop another one and Miami wins out, that's where you see the old switcheroo there for the ACC championship game. Miami's got at Virginia and then home against Cal to finish out the season. Alabama, who's Alabama got? They got Oklahoma. Now Oklahoma's not going to do anything. Poor Oklahoma just came into the SEC and got wrecked. What were you going to say, John?
No, I was just going to say it's going to be so odd, potentially seeing a game like at Sanford Stadium in late December. Like that never happens, which is kind of cool.
As you know, if you don't get that first round bye, yeah. But it's good. It's good for your university. More revenue.
A
playoff game at your campus. That's why I like the college football
during winter break.
Yeah, during winter break.
Yeah, that is cool. I mean, change is good
and inevitable.
It's inevitable, yeah.
Always happens.
Yeah.
Never doesn't happen. Doesn't happen.
That's right.
But yeah, the college football playoff after going into week 13 is out and about. We got to wait till next Tuesday for the next one. When we get back, Jay, I want to talk about the new adopted PGA Tour Policy Board changes and get your thoughts on the state of what is called the highest level of competition in professional golf. You're listening to The Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents the most college basketball.
Three-pointer, punch it in. College basketball is back.
The Panhandle's destination for live play-by-play.
The SEC, ACC, and beyond.
Oh, you saw that coming,
Rampant. The biggest games play right here.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
Here at Panama City Toyota, Toyotathon is on, where you can get refined design and 3.99% APR on a new Camry, plus 90 days until you make your first payment. Enjoy the ride in a new Corolla and get 3.99%, plus 90 days until you make your first payment. Or stand out in a new RAV4 and get 3.99% APR. Good cheer and great deals. Toyotathon at Panama City Toyota.
Offer expires December 2nd. Visit PanamaCityToyota.com.
Are you hungry for authentic Mexican cuisine? Then come to El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, where we serve up the freshest, most flavorful dishes on the beach. El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, a great location, comfortable atmosphere, and happy hour from 3 to 7. Buy one, get one free, regular margaritas and 12-ounce house drafts. And you're going to love their lunch specials Monday through Friday from 11 to 3. Plus live music Wednesdays and Saturdays starting at 5:30. El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, Thomas Drive across from the Navy base.
Broadcasting from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios. He has over 10 items in the express lane. He pays with checks and he doesn't return his shopping carts.
You have ruined groceries for me.
Now back to Ryan Mulvey and the Inside Drive. ESPN Northwest Florida. Not sorry.
I feel like this is one of the ones you'd play us in with, Jay.
Is that REM?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is my daughter's initials, but it has nothing to do with the connection to the band.
Oh, man, that's kind of cool.
O-Life.
Yeah.
It's bigger.
REM.
Yep. Random eye movement. Rapid eye movement.
A rapid eye.
Rapid.
Yeah, that's right.
That's part of your sleep cycles, and when your REM set starts going, that means everything's starting to calm down, and you're firing on all those synapses and all that stuff. But
based right out of Athens, Georgia.
Ooh, really?
Yes, sir.
I didn't know that.
Yes, sir.
Dang. You see him a few times?
There's so many. No, I never have. Never
What?
seen them. So many good bands come out of that city.
Wonder why?
I don't know.
It's a musical hotbed?
Yeah, I mean, just all those small little, like a small Nashville, I guess, Everybody's got a story.
Yeah.
There
you go. So. There you go. Athens, Georgia, home of REM. Didn't know that.
Go.
Learned that today.
Yeah.
What's the brewery out of Athens, too?
Brewery.
It's a good one.
There's probably a few of them.
Yeah,
now,
I'm putting you on the spot. But yeah, let's talk. Let's talk a little golf.
Okay.
Obviously, the Live Tour got seriously criticized when it came about because it was such a small field, not playing 72 holes, yada 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 yada. Well, Jay, according to golf.com and the policy board, some changes are on the cusp for the PGA Tour. The PGA Tour is officially getting smaller. On Monday evening, the Tour's policy board ratified changes to the competitive golf's largest professional tour, fundamentally altering the size and competitive structure of the league. Mondays, you were talking about change earlier, and the PGA Tour just keeps changing everything year after year, it seems like. Monday's announcement was only a formality and expected results after months of negotiating by the Tour's Player Advisory Council as the Tour produced these changes that first circulated among the membership weeks ago. The changes were a near lock to pass through the policy board. The 12-member council featuring 6 players who rarely stray from the direction offered by the membership. The changes usher in a new era for the PGA Tour that can be best described by a single word: exclusivity. Under the new rules, pros golf's highest level will now be harder to reach, more challenging to access on a week-by-week basis, and generally smaller than it had been for years. The upside for those on the inside is more opportunities to play and earn more than ever. Brian Harman said on Tuesday, "I think you'll see guys playing a little bit more. I think when you reduce some of the field sizes, you'll get more players. With the season being slightly more condensed, I don't feel like guys will take as big breaks during the year, so particularly part of the seasons become more and more important." What are your thoughts on that? It sounds kind of
That's weird.
Counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
Saying it's going to be more people will be playing because it's smaller.
That's weird.
Yeah, and I hate to hear harder to reach because we know a lot of people that have been trying to make it to the land of professional golf for a long time. Michael Shears, one of your good friends, helps you out a lot of stuff. He's trying to do it. Yeah. Now it's just it's making this opportunity to get to the PGA Tour harder and harder and harder. Now I get it. There's a lot of other professional tours, but that money really funnels up to the top when it comes to that. So do you think these kind of opportunities open up anything for the LIV Tour to maybe try to expand and capitalize on some things?
It could. I'm just looking at it from a fan perspective and spectator perspective. I was talking to somebody, and I can't even remember who I was talking about this week, where they had gone to a Ryder Cup, and there were like 35,000 tickets for the event. Unfortunately, you've only got like 12 twosomes out there, or potentially like 6 foursomes, and everybody, from a spectator standpoint, you can't get close to anything.
Because you're all around the same people.
You know, but now baseball stadiums have gotten smaller, football stadiums a little smaller. I don't know if they're trying to, go with that whole aspect, but it's putting the Rahms and the Bryson DeChambeaus on a pedestal when actually your Monday qualifiers are out there, and they're the ones that are living inside their trunk, and they're the ones that should be.
Well, I don't even know what this situation with what is Monday qualifiers going to look like anymore. If you're reducing these field sizes and making them more exclusive, let's dive into it a little bit. So the PGA Tour just effectively reduced the size of its full-time membership by 20%, Jay, lowering the total number of full-timers on tour from 125 to 100. These changes have the downstream effect of reducing field sizes and qualification methods, meaning not only will there be fewer PGA Tour cards, but it will be harder to get them. The changes come as the Tour's response to a glut of competitive challenges that it made its product lose steam. In theory, these changes make every shot, moment, and event matter more likely than they did in the past, helping streamline the Tour's competitive structure, improve efforts to keep the Tour's product in check heading into the future. The PAC discussions were based on a number of guiding principles, including our belief that PGA Tour membership is the pinnacle of achievement in men's professional golf. PGA Tour board member Adam Scott said in the letter to the membership on Monday evening, "The changes approved today will provide equitable playing opportunities for new young talent to be showcased and positively refine the experience for our members." I just don't know if I see it that way. You're making it harder to get. It's like they just want to take care of the guys that have been playing so well and are already making this crazy amount of money, and I guess making it more competitive?
Yeah.
I don't know.
From a business standpoint, are you trimming some excess fat?
We do know that the PGA Tour has been losing sponsorships and all that kind of stuff. So maybe this is kind of a out in front, putting that kind of stuff in the back burner, like saying, okay, we're going to reduce field size. That's not many people. It's not as much money. Yada yada yada.
And that's the thing. It goes back to vision. And if you, and unfortunately, I'm going to say the word, but if you've got a bean counter that has a vision, you've got to have somebody in that PGA Tour that has a sales or marketing vision for the tour. And unfortunately, I don't know whose vision is going right now, but it looks like they're trying to, like I said, the excess fat, right?
It's almost like the best players in the world that are on the PGA Tour are trying to make it harder for newcomers to compete against them.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
That's fair.
And why? Why?
Yeah.
Sounds like greed to me.
That's what it does, yeah.
But, I mean, everybody was so bent out of shape when the LIV Tour started and all these people were taking all this money. It was smaller. Yeah, it's just the hypocrisy in professional golf right now. And we really haven't talked about it very much in the last 6 months with football season going on. But, so what are some other things changing, obviously, with these new rules that the PGA Tour Board ratified? The Tour is also reducing the number of full-time tour cards given to top finishers on the Korn Ferry Tour from 30 to 20. Q School graduates, just top 5 finishers now, not top 5s and ties, will be removing Monday qualifiers from many of its events. So there you go, Jay. They're reducing the ability to go from the Korn Ferry to the PGA Tour by 10 people.
By 10, that's
33%.
That's it. You're right. You're right.
That's insane. And then also, you're not going to have Monday qualifiers for a lot of these events.
I don't understand.
Like, you're just, I don't know. I hope it doesn't bleed all the way down into, the youth golf level.
Right.
That kind of stuff. But the Tour will reduce field sizes at many of its events. It also proposed a new system for enforcing place-of-play rules that would stiffen punishments for repeat offenders while also lessening the penalty for one-off slow rounds. So what happens to the guys left behind because of the new changes? Thankfully, these changes won't cast off 25 players from the Tour entirely. Misters 101 through 125 still will have opportunities to play on the Tour through conditional status and sponsors exemptions. We will allow them to play in events when fields have not been filled or sponsors wish to have them in the mix. In some ways, this isn't too different than life on the 2024 Tour. For the Tour's lower earners, the signature event series made it hard for many players, even those with full-time status, to earn some slots in the PGA Tour's early season events. For non-PGA Tour members, the same pathways to a tour card still exist, but the math got a lot harder. So basically, these ideas were originated by the PGA Tour's 16-member Player Advisory Council. Think of them like the House of Representatives. Based on feedback from the Tour membership, they were sent along to the policy board, essentially the Senate and the executive branches for approval, which is where Monday evening's rubber stamp came from. Why does the Tour suddenly care so much about proving a competitive product? Changes on the way in the world of professional sports. Those who embrace it want to get ahead, and those who do not are wither on the vine. LIV is the spark behind the fire of change that has come to the Tour in the last few years, helping start the internal conversations that birthed many of the changes to the pro golf world, including these. Still, these are more internally driven and turf-defending changes than came before, like the creation of signature events, limited fields, larger purse sizes, all basically derivative from what the LIV did. In short, LIV's success alerted the Tour that changes needed to be made. Players and new investor groups like the SSG, the Strategic Sports Group, have provided feedback and know how those could look. And now, with the approval of most parties involved, the changes have been approved to make the Tour consistently more interesting and competitive. So I guess my 18,000-foot view of this would be the PGA Tour is simply trying to make the competition more competitive.
Yeah, and this is making a room, and I don't know who's going to come in and do this, but it's making room for a secondary tour.
Yeah,
is what it's doing, and I don't know, like we've talked about, I don't know if LIV is going to be that secondary or vice versa. But from a green grass standpoint, we've talked about it. We know it's growing on that side, on the recreational side. I mean, you didn't hear it from me, but I mean, there's 3 or 4 new courses in the Augusta area that are currently being built.
There's one just across the river in Aiken.
Yeah, right there by the airport.
Yep.
Yeah,
fantastic facility.
Right,
that's coming in.
So and then we've talked a little bit about Washington County and some things. So we know that it's growing on the recreational side. So maybe. I don't know. Now that we're talking this through, maybe that they're trying to bring in this secondary or third trio of tours.
I don't know. It's just from the actual sports standpoint, it just seems like it's just becoming tougher. But from an entertainment standpoint, it's like they're trying to make it more competitive. And that was always kind of what a lot of people gave to the LIV flack, right? It's, you're playing shotguns. You're not playing. You're only playing 54 holes and all that stuff. And now the PGA Tour Tour is trying to kind of take this, and it's just weird. It's the whole state of golf in the last 3 years, from a professional standpoint, has certainly been turned on its head, no doubt about it.
And all year we've been waiting for all of this to kind of come together.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about it.
Well, the LIV and the PGA Tour, well, it certainly looks like we're not anywhere near close to that. We're just going to be living with a much smaller, tighter, competitive PGA Tour and the LIV Tour to continue what it does. And hey, there's more of the majors. The majors are still going to be the big ones, regardless of, in my opinion, all these signature events on the PGA Tour, all that stuff. Great. But the majors are still going to be what everybody's tuning into, right? Especially because these other majors have allowed other opportunities for LIV Tour players to get in.
But, as an older, I guess, I'm such traditionalist that 5 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, I don't know about you, I'm turning it to CBS.
And I've had it on CBS since 2.
Okay.
Yeah,
see, I'm
not
more
waiting
of
until 5. I want to see the front nine. Front nine, a lot happens.
It does. But I mean, that's just kind of my MO. My Sunday afternoon kind of ritual is to 5 o'clock. I'm going to see that last
the piano
hour
playing right now.
That's right.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the 13th at Augusta National. I can't wait to do that again.
It's coming up, man. It'll be here before we know it.
I know. Just another aside talking about all this stuff. This was from a couple days ago, reported by a news channel over there in Europe. But a large contingent of LIV Tour golfers are back on the DP World Tour in 2025. Sergio Garcia, Tyrrell Hatton, John Rahm, Adrian Moronic, Dean Burmester, Joaquin Niemann, Thomas Peters, Patrick Reed, Lucas Herbert. They've all had their memberships reinstated to the DP World Tour, Jay, which allows them some potential world ranking points and some opportunities to try to get back in some of the majors. So maybe the DP World Tour is kind of, you were just talking about that third quote-unquote tour. You get the PGA Tour, the LIV Tour, and the DP World Tour, kind of the three-headed monster, so to speak.
Good.
But
we need Tiger Woods to step up and be a fearless leader.
He's on the policy board. He's on the policy board. He's the one helping vote these decisions through.
He's not
even going to be playing.
Yeah. We need him to step up.
And do what?
To take over the whole thing.
Oh, just Tiger?
I mean, has Tiger Woods Foundation created that back 20 years ago? I mean, man, come on, Tiger. We need you.
What does he need? What do you need him to do?
Lead. Because nobody's leading this thing.
Well, somebody's leading it because they're making these crazy changes to reduce all the stuff, and he's a part of it.
All right, well, that's fair.
He's a proponent that he wants more competition, less people playing, and I don't know. That just seems so counterintuitive in my mind.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Keith will have some things to say about this too when we jump in. I know he's got a lot
He's got a man crush on Tiger.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Oh, yeah, I do as well.
A lot of people have for a long time now.
Yeah.
It's a love-hate relationship.
It is.
Now you're kind of getting to that elder time, and the body's falling apart. He may not have the appeal he used to have for you, so, you got to find other things that keep that relationship moving along.
You said elder. That reminds Eldrick?
Yeah, it's his first name. That's Eldrick Tiger Woods. But, I mean, he's almost 50 now, right?
Yeah, unfortunately. Man.
Age. It's undefeated. Time is also undefeated.
That's right.
Did I just hear you say 54 was old?
He's almost 50. I think he's, 48, 49?
Yeah.
He's born in December, I think. You should know that. You have a relationship with him.
Right. Yeah, he's like, he's probably 50.
Yeah. Not yet.
Not yet, but he's getting there.
His senior tour. He should play on the senior tour.
Absolutely.
That'd be good. You talk about crowds.
Man, no kidding.
Awesome. Yep.
Come on.
Yep. Champions Tour. I apologize. It's called the Champions Tour. It's not the Senior Tour anymore. We got to go ahead and take our top of the hour break. When we get back, we'll be joined by Keith Fleming. I know he wants to dive into some of the exciting trends so far in the NFL this season and also give you his official lineup for Week 13 coming up here in the NFL. You're listening to The Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show.
We're good. 78's young now. Look at Wildcat. Hell, he's 83.
You were in the Commodores, weren't you? Back in Tuskegee?
Well, what happened there in the Commodores when we started out in Tuskegee, we started traveling, we started going. It was some rough places when we started going out. I wasn't accepted in some of them. I didn't get it. I was like, what's different with me?
Weekday morning 7 to 9. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good morning. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your forecast on this Wednesday. Clear skies this afternoon and evening with a moderate breeze at 17 miles per hour coming out of the north-northwest, and look for the high to be 77. Tonight, there will be clear skies with the temperature reaching 50. Sunny tomorrow with a wind around 14 miles per hour and a high of 64. Friday will have a high of 63 and sunshine. This weather is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Mahalo Grounds is the newest coffee bar on PCB's East End. Conveniently located beside Cartona at the Hathaway Bridge, 7131 West Highway 98, Panama City Beach. Mahalo Grounds provides small batch, fresh roast coffee and espresso drinks. Their beans are from a small batch roaster out of Apalachicola, Bayside Coffee. Whether you are wanting a double espresso or a seasonal latte, they have you covered. Come experience the difference in coffee artistry at Mahalo Grounds.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. Joe. Powered by Panama City Toyota. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Whether you're an experienced investor or first-time buyer, Beach House will provide you with top-notch service to guide you through every step of the process. We make the real estate process fun and easy through effective marketing, strategic advertising, and always a client-focused experience. From single-family homes to full-scale developments, Beach House Sales Development has you covered. Check them out at beachhousesalesfl.com or give them a call at 850-919-3500.
And now, the afternoon delight debrief with the three degenerates from the Inside Drive. Live from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios.
Afternoon delight.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And welcome back. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. 104.3 in Panama City Beach and Panama City, all the beautiful surrounding areas in our listening area. Another beautiful day out there. The rain's out of the way. It's going to get a little cool, but hey, you know what, Jay? It's November.
It is.
It's allowed to be a little cool out there.
Yep.
And of course, you can download our free mobile app inside
the Google Play or Apple Store.
104.3 is all you got to search up right there. It'll come right to your phone anywhere you have service, or as the kids say, Wi-Fi, which is not indeed data service. That is a wireless fidelity that comes through the internet and goes through a router. Kids, if you're listening, I know you're not because you're in school, but LTE or whatever it says does not mean Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
We determined that at the beginning of the show. And of course, you can also head over to ESPNPC.com. Scroll down just a little bit. We're watching it in the studio as we speak. That way, Jays knows what's going on in the sports world. That is Lucid Streams TV. Just head over to ESPNPC.com. Look for that TV channel icon. Currently offering a free 3-day trial with code ESPN-NW. You can get it for about $40 a month. That is over 2,000 streaming channels, 10,000 movies on demand, all the regional sports networks, all the pay-per-view, WWE, UFC, whatever it may be. Lucid Streams has it, and of course has all your sporting action from across the country and probably the world too as well, Jay.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. I also got to thank our studio sponsors. We do at the top of the hour every show. That is Bill Kramer GM and Kramer Marine and Outdoor, right there at the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd Street. Lots of new vehicles in stock. Drove by it multiple times yesterday. It was in the rain a little bit, but lots looking good. That Christmas present time, nothing looks better than a new vehicle there with a bow on it in the driveway for the misses or the misters. And Bill Kramer GM can help you out with that. Of course, if you own your own business and you're looking for that 90% deduction in the first year, all it's got to be is over 6,000 pounds. Doesn't have to be brand new either. Just has to be a vehicle you bought in that tax year. And Bill Kramer, their salesman, can help you out with that. Of course, they have express service, regular service, tires at cost. It's going to be a little breezy the next couple days, but hey, if you need a boat and you need to get back out on the water, there's only one place to go. That's Kramer Marine and Outdoor, or they'll even come to you in your dock and your driveway to get you folks. As Smitty always says, you got to make sure you get that 100-hour service. Make sure that boat is running optimally, and they have 2 Yamaha Master Certified mechanics on staff to make that happen for you. And then, of course, if you're just done, you don't want a boat anymore, and you're ready to get rid of it, they'll take care of all that hassle too. You just tell them what you want to do, and they'll take it. You don't have to worry about people no-showing at the Facebook Marketplace, lowballing you, whatever it may be. The services offered there are tremendous at the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd Street. If, of course, you're looking for something new, they sell Seaborn, Spider, Sundance, and Skeeter. Check out all that new and used inventory at KramerMarineandOutdoor.com. All right, it's Wednesday. Our good friend on the line, Keith Fleming. Keith, we are week 13 of the NFL season. How did we get here so quickly?
I don't really want to talk about it.
I know, it's depressing.
It gets very depressing. And it's week 12, though. So,
That's true. It's week 13 in college. My bad.
But that's okay. I don't like it being week 12 either. Before we get into football, because I got a bunch of stuff for that, I just want to talk with my golf guys.
Yeah, we were just talking a little bit here in this past segment about everything that's going down right now.
I hate it. As somebody who, was planting the PGA Tour flag, they just continue to make it harder to root and pull for these guys. Maybe they've been the villain all along. I don't know. I don't like the format. To me, you're almost copy and live in many ways. You're making it so difficult for players to get to that, marquee status, which that's one of my favorite things about the PGA Tour and golf is that if you get hot and play well, you can win a lot of money and get into any tournament you want. And they're taking a lot of that away. And then just the hypocrisy to say that it's because of pace of play. Give me a break. These guys haven't put anybody on the clock in over a decade. I've watched Kevin Na, some of these guys waggle for 30 minutes and they don't put them on the clock. And then they're going to say it's for pace of play. They could enforce pace of play very easily. And it's something that they should do if they want to continue to grow the game. Because what's probably the biggest complaint of your wife, spouse, etc., when you go to play golf? It's like, okay, I'll see you in 6 hours.
Yep.
So it's so much about it I just can't stand.
Well, why do you, we were just talking about it at length in the last segment. What do you think the reason behind this whole structure change is? Like, I keep seeing them say that they're trying to make it more competitive. When has the PGA Tour not been competitive? Like, it's been the hardest thing in sports to get to for as long as I can remember. And I don't get the reasoning or the logic behind it. Is it just because LIV kind of forced their hand to change their motto? And if that's the case, why? I don't know. I can't understand why all these changes keep happening year in and year out.
I mean, it's all in reaction to the LIV Tour, in my opinion. They know that the biggest concern that they have right now is the fact that I think eventually there's going to be some kind of partnership. There just will be. But how do they do that without alienating the guys that, by the way, they beg to be loyal and stand by their side and not take the ridiculous amounts of money from LIV? And I think this is what this is for, because it's most of those guys that are going to benefit.
Gotcha. Okay, I can see that making a little sense. Yeah, they're trying to throw them a little bone from when that initially happened. Okay, to kind of ease it over until maybe there's some kind of merger down the road.
Correct, and then that way they're going to be making the most money. It's going to be really hard to get into these like elevated. I don't know what they're called, signature. I'm not sure what the new name is, but basically, if you're not there, it's a real fight to get full status into those events, and it makes it really difficult for those to fall down. And again, like that's not what golf is about. Like golf is about results, wins, how much money you're making, top tens, etc. And they're just changing so much of it. And I hate it. The fields are already diluted. You're seeing it with sponsors, where the sponsors are like, I don't want to be a title sponsor. And this is no disrespect to Kevin Kisner or whoever, but where they're the top dog, if you will, in that field. And it's just, it's a mess. And there's nobody to blame but the people, the golfers in professional golf and the PGA Tour. And then I guess if you want to blame the LIV too, that's fine.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's such a weird, everything I've known about professional golf my entire life has just changed so much in the last really short 2.5, maybe 3 years, pretty much as long as we've been doing this radio.
I'd say your show messed up golf. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, that's true. And we are named the Inside Drive. So, hey, there you go. You want to blame somebody, blame us for screwing up professional golf. But I just don't get what makes it more competitive by having smaller fields. What, Scotty Scheffler going to run away with these things even more so now because there's less guys that can catch him? Like, they keep talking about making it more competitive. Well, who are you making it more competitive for? The people that are...
over 4 days, is it more likely that 50 players will have, say, 10 get to 15, 20 under, whatever it's going to take to win? Or would a field with 150 players be more likely to do that? I mean, it's asinine. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it seems completely backwards in my mind. But, hey, it's nothing we can really do anything about except see how it shakes out. But like I was talking to Jay in the last segment, it's just going to make me continue to do what I've done the last year and a half and really just focus on the major championships, because these majors have opened up more doors for people outside the PGA Tour to get in. I was just talking last segment about all these guys that just got their status back on the DP World Tour, because obviously that gives you some world ranking points and that kind of stuff. But, the majors are still going to be really what everybody seems to care about. Me personally, I'd rather watch a major than watch one of these, the signature event where Scotty Scheffler or somebody else is probably going to run away with the tournament and win, $100 million in a year. And I don't know. The majors are just going to continue to seem to be the driving force.
Becoming tennis before our eyes. And if you remember, that was my first complaint when they started the signature series stuff. Is tennis is a perfect example where 4 tournaments a year matter. That's it. And that's where we're headed to on the PGA Tour. Now, if they can figure out a way to do events between Live and PGA, Ryder Cup style, and keep interest, and obviously I want these guys to make a good living, and all those things. I'm not trying to hate on that, but you're right. There's got to be stakes to tournaments, and when 50 people get a chance to play for this money, I just don't see how that is the spirit of what the PGA Tour and professional golf has been for generations.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, and domination's out the door now. I know Scotty, we can say he's dominating, but I still think that he's right there,
Well, and how many guys you talk about that? I mean,
he said that he's done anyway. His best days are behind him, and he's on the
Scotty said that?
No, you said that.
You said that.
Yeah, earlier this year.
Jay Henley.
Yeah, no, verbatim.
When?
Earlier this year.
I will go back and find it.
That was a quote.
You said it.
That was a quote.
100%.
His days are
You
done.
said his best days are behind him. And then he went and won the FedEx Cup.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. His best days are behind him.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So then we don't have to worry about Scotty going forward.
That's what goes back to my domination thing.
Perfect. Yeah. But how many guys are waiting in the works that just haven't got that break, haven't got that chance that could be the next Scotty Scheffler? And you've got this route with the PGA Tour U for guys that are in college to go right to the PGA Tour, where that's not something that happened before. So that's
the one win they've done in the last few years.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yep. Absolutely. And I think that makes sense because you're playing against the best amateurs in the world, and that's it's not really different than the guys on tour.
And it gives them motivation to go to college, which they should. They have plenty of years to be on the professional tour. Go get an education. Go have a good time. And at least this way, if you kick butt while you're in college, you're going to get a free ride onto the tour anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the whole domination thing, though, back to, think about NFL. We're coming down to field goals to win games. In NASCAR, we're coming down to the last lap. I've said it before. Back 30 years ago, Dale Earnhardt Sr. in NASCAR would have it with the Winston Cup wrapped up 3 races before, and so they're trying to find ways to not have somebody dominate. They're bringing the field closer together, more viewership. I mean, you see it in every sport. I mean, NBA
I think they're
basketball.
making it easier for somebody to dominate, though.
Less competition.
In all honesty. Yeah, because they're only having to beat 49 players. And I don't care, I don't think most people understand. Yes, there is obviously levels to professional golfers and how good they are. But the difference between, the first player, the best player on tour, Scotty Scheffler, and the 150th is so much smaller than people understand in any other sport. It's so close. And any one of those guys, I really do believe they get hot for 4 days. They can win on most courses. Now, there's certain ones that doesn't apply, like Augusta, because the links, those kind of situations, got to get at a certain height.
Yeah.
But overall, those guys can really play. And I love the John Daly story at the 92 PGA Championship. Prime example. He's the 5th alternate.
Yeah, maybe.
He gets in on the day of the event. He goes on to win the major. Yeah.
Yep. You're just not going to hear those stories anymore.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. And that's kind of what professional golf was certainly found. And it's like anything else. It all goes back to what, Jay?
What? Oh, yeah.
Money.
Yeah.
Every time. In every sport we're seeing right now, even college football, it's all going back to money.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just just in golf, though, everybody hits it, without any curve anymore. And
no, it's hit it as far as you can, hit it as close as you can, and try to make the putt.
They've taken away the Brad Faxons, the Keith Flemings of the world. Used to, I felt like I could compete, even on courses that were long, against players because I could hit the ball straight, right? I had a great short game. Now, it's almost impossible if you don't bomb it. And to Jay's point, the ball doesn't move.
Nope.
Like, it's designed to go dead straight and so far, which is great for us, but not, like, to me, they're the best in the world. Let's turn up the degree of difficulty to all men, like we should for them.
But if I'm being honest with myself, I mean, I started watching golf in the 90s because you watch that ball dance around and back up 15, 20 feet. And I remember that's what brought me to the game was like, I want to do that.
Yeah. The imagination, the creativity, the bringing your skill to the dance, so to speak. Yeah. And it's it's hit it as well. Now they're going to roll the ball back here, I guess, in a couple of years. We'll see if that actually really affects anything. Hopefully it does on the professional game, because I'd love to see them squirm a little bit. But yeah, it's just even college golf, man. It's hit it 340. It doesn't matter if you're in the rough or the fairway. You hit it up on the green as close as you can. You try to make the putt.
Yep.
That's literally golf now in a nutshell.
That's it.
It's basically a giant long drive competition. All right, chip and putt. Those are my favorite.
I'm still waiting for DeChambeau to get his hole-in-one over his glass house.
Yeah.
Have y'all watching that ever?
Yeah, and Keith's talked about this before. I mean, I think that's some of the stuff that the PGA Tour and professional golf is missing out on, is capitalizing on what are people watching nowadays? They're watching YouTube videos, they're watching shorts, they're watching TikToks, and that's the stuff that I think is good for the recreational consumer, because it kind of makes you feel relatable a little bit. Not that I'm going trying to hit a golf ball in a green over my house, but it's one of those things.
I used to do it when I was a kid.
If I had the money, I would. Yeah, for sure.
I hit one over the Waccamaw dorm at Coastal Carolina University one late night.
There you go.
Yes. With the big dog onto the intramural fields. I had a lot more confidence back then. I don't know if I could do that, but all right, Keith. I know you wanted to talk some of the fun, kind of nerdy for a loose term data. The 11 weeks we've had so far in the NFL season.
Yeah, the stuff that I just absolutely live for. Let's first, something that I'm going to have to kind of readjust. I want to see it through the end of the season, but right now the top 4 running backs in points per game: Joe Mixon, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara. All of those gentlemen are 27 years or older. And we used to have this notion that, and I was a big believer in this, that's why I'm a no RB guy, that you can find running backs. Usually they fall off a cliff, and it's fast when they do. This season has been a little bit different, so that's something I'm paying attention to in the closing weeks. Do these guys, are they able to extend and do this to the end of the year? Do they get worn down, et cetera? Jahmyr Gibbs is here, and he is the next great running back. Right now, he leads all running backs in explosive run rate. No surprise there. 15-plus yards. 10% of the time when he takes the ball, he's going 15-plus yards. The next closest running back is almost 3 percentage points behind him at 7.6. But this is what's insane to me. He's also got the lowest percentage of stuff runs of all running backs at 33%, and is forcing mixed tackles at the third highest rate, 23%. So this dude is not only the most explosive, like, look out on any carry, he can go the distance.
It's the trifecta.
He's a good down-to-down running back. And when they unleash him in Detroit, which we may even be 2 years from that, I cannot wait to see what that is. And it's also just why Detroit is so good right now, is they have him, and it's like, oh, you think you're going to get a spell when Gibbs is not in the game, they just give it to Montgomery, or they throw it to St. Brown, or they throw it to Jameson Williams, like Lions embarrassment of riches. An interesting stat for you guys who, I'd mentioned Jauan Jennings a few times. The data is getting outrageous. He now has a 41.8% first read target rate in the 3 games he's played, with either Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel out this year. Now, again, Ayuk's done for the year, so we know that's going to be that way for the rest of the season. For those that don't understand, first read target means that literally the play is designed for that pass catcher. That is the first place the QB is looking after it's snapped. That is a really good number. The only guy in the NFL right now higher is Malik Neighbors, and he's the only other player over 40%. So if you have Jauan Jennings, bully for you the rest of the year, basically. All right, the Cowboys, historically bad. Did you guys see the graphic? In their last 6 regular season home games, they've led for a combined 2 minutes and 15 seconds.
Yes. New Orleans is led by more than...
by 20-plus points for 109 minutes and 2 seconds. Yikes.
I think it's finally, it's a few teams now, but I think it's finally come to the fruition where the great regular season, losing the playoffs, now it's caught up to the entire organization, and if Jerry Jones does not get out of his own way, it might be a couple years, and they're starting now to flirt with a potential top 5 draft pick if they continue the direction they go. If they lose to the Giants this upcoming
They
weekend.
should go hire Dion.
Yeah,
they should get Shador and go
according
all
to
in.
Michael, his best friend, that's probably going to happen. Although Dion's obviously playing it down as he has to, and say we'll talk about a little bit, Jay, in the final segment on that one. But want to get back to Jennings real quick, Keith. One of the things too is obviously I'm a big Niners guy, so kind of diving into a lot of the stuff right now and how poorly our defense is playing. Not good. Not very happy with Nick Sorensen and the blitz rates and all that. But anyway, they are known. Shanahan is known for getting wide receivers open. They have the least amount of separation that they've had in the last 5 years so far this year. So that Jauan Jennings stat is even more interesting because a lot of those first read catches, he is making very contested catches as well. So like you said, if you
guys knew what you were doing. Remember, everybody questioned you, like, why are you making Jauan Jennings, which y'all signed like a 3-year extension?
Yeah, 2 year. We got him next year too. Yeah.
And people were like, what is going on? Again, the 49ers front office is really good.
Yep. Yeah, we got some work to do. We got to get some guys back on defense and change.
It's been a bad year for injury. Like I try to. They've kind of had the season from hell. Like it's them or the Rams, ironically, in their same division. To me, that they just can't seem to get all their guys right at the same time, and that's what makes the point. Like I think that plays so much into their defense too. Is when you have the ability for that offense to roll the way it has, you get up, you're allowed to just break. Yep. Just really zone in on bringing the house, and
we haven't though this year. That's what's driving us crazy.
I know, but I'm saying you're not up, and that's the issue, right? The games are a lot closer. You guys have historically the last few years, I think actually been leading the most of any team in the NFL. That's kind of flipped this year.
Yeah.
And then they're not closing games. As a Falcons fan, I feel that, especially because it just reminds me of Falcons. A lot of times it looks like you're playing. No, I wouldn't say just straight up prevent, but you are just trying to not give away big. Yeah, and I hate that.
You can't play not to lose in the NFL because that's how you lose football games. 3 divisional games with a 4-point lead in the fourth quarter, all pissed away, and hopefully we can reel that back in this weekend against the Packers. But
go ahead. Time talk Brock Bowers real quick.
Yeah,
I do want to mention my boy.
Absolutely.
Okay, so, there was
all your boys have went off this year.
That I pounded, and I got a lot of homerism, and it's fair because I'm a huge UGA fan. But I said that when I was, propping these guys up. I was also saying that, they were freshmen and sophomores, 2 of the best offensive weapons I've ever seen. Right now, pass catchers by yardage, Brock Bowers first, 706. Brian Thomas Jr., who my buddy said was the best receiver in this class, he may be right, is second. And then my boy Lab McConkey coming on strong with 6:15. But I want to talk about Brock. He is on a pace, which I want to remind people. He's played these games with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew.
Yep.
For 119 receptions, 1,200 yards, 5 touchdowns. The most receptions by a rookie tight end, 86. He might pass that actually this week. There's an outside chance. The most receptions by a tight end in history, 116. He's on projection to break that. He broke the rookie reception record in a game last week with 13. I think the more impressive stat, he became only the second tight end since 2000 to have 10 catches that converted a first down in a single game. That is something that Travis Kelce, Gronk, Tony G, and Antonio Gates never did. And then the biggest thing that I want to remind people about Brock, and why I was so high on him particularly, he is still 21 years of age. Yep. He does not turn 22 for another 2 weeks. He may end up being the greatest tight end of all time, at least from pass-catching standpoint, for sure. Wait till this guy gets a quarterback. Go watch some of the videos of him doing slants and it's exactly what I said. You put a smaller guy on him, he's going to just mug them.
Yep.
And if you put a bigger guy on him, he's going to blow by him because he's very athletic. And because he's big and white, people just assume he's not. So quick, so fast, so strong. And I love it because Bowers is just one of those guys that he just wants to play football.
Yep, he's just a gamer.
Yep, he's the real deal.
Who knows? Maybe Shedeur Sanders will be throwing to him next year. Who knows if he where he ends up going? But we got Keith Fleming on the line. You can follow him on the X machine. That is at Keith Fleming, 2 M's in Fleming. You're listening to the Inside Drive. When we get back, it'll be time to dive into the official Week 12 fantasy football lineup. You're listening to the Inside Drive. We'll be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Colin Cowherd. I think Lamar Jackson's about the most guaranteed 2-point conversion in the league. But when the Steelers play him, his passer rating goes to 103 against the world and 74 against the Steelers. And they force him to be patient, and there's something about the Steelers.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Weekdays, ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Wednesday's weather. The rest of the day, there will be a moderate breeze out of the north-northwest, clear skies and 77. Clear skies tonight, much colder at 50 and a wind coming out of the north at 14 miles per hour. Tomorrow, sunny and a moderate breeze right around 14 miles per hour with a high of 64. About the same at 63 Friday, and we'll have sunshine. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Ellis Agency Insurance has been serving Panama City and Bay County for years. They offer a full line of affordable insurance coverage of all types. Many people are attracted to Ellis Agency Insurance because of their friendly, knowledgeable staff. Call independent agent Johnny Ellis for a true comparison of your personal or business insurance. Ellis Agency Insurance at the Old Cullen Insurance location, 1134 Harrison Avenue, across from Dandy Donuts and Deli. Call 763-1627.
Are you tired of hearing 2 weeks when you call to get your boat worked on? Hey folks, it's Chris Kramer with Kramer Marine and Outdoor, and we'll get you in and back out on the water as quick as possible. We're a full-line Yamaha outboard dealer and Suzuki outboard dealer, and we have master-trained certified mechanics on site. So if it's just an annual service, electronics install, trolling motor install, or all the way up to a full repower, we can take care of you. So stop by and see us in the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd next to Bill Kramer GM, or call us at 850-851-0453.
Broadcasting live from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios.
Have a quick stretch first.
The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey.
Must have pulled something playing hoops last week.
And Jay Henley.
I know you're not putting that rock up from here. You ain't got no Jay.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And welcome back. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Keith Fleming on the line. You can follow him on X at Keith Fleming, KeithFleming. All his great fantasy work. If you like to win money, make sure you pay attention all throughout the week leading up to Sunday morning to get your official lineups in. Speaking of official lineups, Keith, what are we looking like for Week 12 coming up here? A big week for a lot of teams here in the NFL.
It's a huge week. The data is out there. I do want to real quickly, because there was one other thing I wanted to mention when going through these stats, that Joe Burrow is the latest example of why it's not fair to judge QBs mostly on wins and losses and their playoff success. He is first in passing yards at over 3,000 yards, second in yards per game, first in touchdowns. He has the 53rd fewest interceptions among QBs, which again just shows how many quarterbacks play each year. And then the number one in QBR, third in passer rating. Just some of his numbers and losses this year: 356 yards and 3 touchdowns, and a loss to the Chargers by 7, 428 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a 1-point loss to the Ravens, and 392 yards, 5 touchdowns, and an interception, and a 3-point loss to the Ravens.
Yep.
These guys aren't miracle workers. They don't walk on water, and I get upset when people downplay guys like Dan Marino from back in the day.
Yeah.
They can't win titles by themselves, and to compare QB strictly on their wins, losses, and playoff success is not only unfair, it's dumb.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the end-all, be-all. Burrow is the latest example of even when a guy's having the best year of his career, it doesn't always equate to success.
No doubt, no doubt. Certainly a team sport nonetheless, like you were saying. You know, in his 7 losses this year, he's thrown for 18 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. brutal to be Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals right now. And hey,
And I can't wait for T. Higgins to sign somewhere else next year and do the Joe Mixon where he looks like Randy Moss or Jerry Rice. Wherever he goes, which that probably is the next thing coming towards you. But the week, again, 12 DraftKings lineup. I'm going a little bit different this week with my strategy. And I've been lately spending down at QB to a lot of success. Last week it was Bo Nix. This week, Baker Mayfield.
You were perfect on Bo Nix last week. Jeez.
Well, playing the Falcons, it's really not fair right now with the amount of pressure that we get. But Baker Mayfield, 6,100. I know it's in New York, and I also understand the last time we saw him, he had his worst game of the year, scoring 8.9 points. He may still be without both Godwin and Evans. Right now, it looks like there's a chance Evans plays.
He could play, yeah. I think
Godwin, obviously, we know is done for the year. But either way, Baker scored 18 points or more on DraftKings in 8 of 10, including 2 of 3 of the games without Evans and Godwin. He's rushed for 20 yards or more 6 times this season, so it raises his floor. That's at least 2 points right there. And he's thrown 3 passing touchdowns or more in half of his games. And what I like the most about this, I think Baker's going to cook. I really do. In his first week back from a bye, the Giants' defense couldn't even get a turnover from Bryce Young last week, which that's not, or 2 weeks ago. That's not a good sign. But what I love the most about it is I can stack him not with a wide receiver, but with my first running back, who is Rachaad White, 5,400, again at the Giants. He is now like a focal point in this passing game with them losing Godwin. We've seen this with Otten and as well with White. Since he's gone down, Godwin has. His last 4, White's got 22 targets, 20 receptions, 5 receiving touchdowns. In that span, he scored 15.7 points or more on DK in 3 or 4. He's averaging almost 20 points per game. And the big thing, the Giants, they allow almost 5 receptions per game to running backs. That's the ninth most receiving yards per game to opposing running backs. Even if Evans comes back, I expect White to continue to be a focal point in the passing game. He's not even playing that many snaps is what's crazy. So when he's out there, they're literally designing plays for him in the passing game. I like that a lot. I'm pairing him with Devon Achane, 7,500 versus New England. This is just honestly disrespectful what they're charging for Achane. It's too cheap. With Tua, he is a cheat code. You know, I talked about earlier this year that in games that he had played with Tua, he was averaging 26 points per game for his career. It would be like the 10th highest for a fantasy season ever by a running back. And in the 6 games that he's played that Tua started this year, he's averaging almost 24 points per game. It's that high floor because they are just such a connection into his passing game. He has 37 receptions in the 6 games started by Tua this year. He has 9 receptions in the 4 games he's played without Tua. Think about that. 37 in the 6 games with Tua, 9 in the 4 without. If you need another way to understand that, he is averaging over 13 points per game on DK, just catching passes in Tua starts. Not to mention he's averaging almost 14 rush attempts per game in Tua starts, including 13 red zone touches. He should be way more expensive. And this Patriots offense, they are one of 9 teams in the NFL who have allowed 1,400 rushing yards already this season and 10 rushing touchdowns. I'm going to do it a little bit different because my flex is a running back. We'll just stay on him. Tyrone Tracy, 6K versus Tampa. He's officially the lead back in this Giants offense, coming off back-to-back games, playing 72% of snaps or more. And that's significant because that's with a healthy Devin Singletary. In those last 2 games, what I'm most excited about, he's seen 6 red zone touches. He had seen a combined 4 in the previous 8 games. This season, in the 5 games, Tracy's seen at least 15 touches, a number I expect him to see again this week. Something he's done 3 in a row, by the way. He's averaging almost 17 points per game. He scored a touchdown in 3 or 5. The elephant in the room is the fact that Tommy Cutlets DeVito is starting at QB. I get that. That's not a great thing for this offense in general. I am a little concerned about it for Tracy, not as much as I am for like Neighbors and their true pass catchers. But this week versus the Bucs, I ain't worried about it because the Bucs allow the 3rd most receptions per game and the most receiving yards per game to opposing running backs. If you do not know this, Tyrone Tracy played wide receiver in college until his final year. He is one of the best pass catching backs in the NFL. if I was Brian Daboll, who's a very smart guy, I would assume to get Tommy DeVito going, you're going to have a lot of design looks to Tracy, easy passes to help move the train. I really like him at 6K, and I think people are going to be like, I don't want to play somebody with, Tommy DeVito. Yeah. All right, wide receivers. My guy, Nico Collins, is back, 7,600 versus Tennessee. He is a real value at this price. He's averaging more points per game this season. I know he's played less games than Amon-Ra St. Brown and Justin Jefferson. They are $500 and $700 more. You saw Collins in his return last week. Only played 47% of the snaps, but he still saw 7 targets. He is just the target monster in that offense. That's a game also the Texans controlled throughout, which obviously put a limit on his snaps, plays, etc. And they are back at home, the Texans are, where Collins has been sensational, would be the word that I would use. He has ran 82 routes at home this season. He's seen 27 targets, caught 22 passes, 364 yards, and 3 scores. That includes the Buffalo game, where, remember, he got knocked out in the first quarter, but he ran 5 routes in that first quarter, and he still caught 2 passes for 78 yards and a touchdown. Now, this Titans secondary, they're pretty good, like in the defenses as well. But if you remember, he played an even better defense than the Chicago Bears, who are just the best passing defense arguably in the NFL week 2. In that game, he caught 8 passes for 135 yards and a touchdown. I think Nico Collins is the best value on the board this week. They're giving you him at an extreme discount. All right, the other 2 wide receivers, Rome Odunze, Chicago Bears stud, 4,800 versus Minnesota. And his first start with the new OC in Chicago, he saw a second highest target total of the season. That was his first game this season that him, Allen, and DJ Moore all played together, where he was the most targeted of the 3. That is significant. It was also just the second game since week 3 that he played more than 80% of the snaps. And this Vikings D, they are not good versus wide receivers. Second most receptions per game, third most yards per game given up to wide receivers, and the 8th most receiving touchdowns per game. JSN is the 3rd wide receiver, and boy, has this guy gone nuclear in recent weeks. 6,300 versus Arizona. Just the last 2 games, which that is significant because DK Metcalf, remember, was back last week. 24 targets, 17 receptions, 290 yards, and 2 touchdowns. If you go back to week 8, among wide receivers, who had this on their bingo card? JSN, wide receiver 1 in receiving yards per game since week 8. Wide receiver 2 in receptions per game. Wide receiver 4 in targets per game. And wide receiver 1 in fantasy points per game since week 8. He is the 12th most expensive player on the slate. And for those who don't know, the Cards D allow the 10th most receptions per game to opposing receivers. That is significant because, kind of like the Falcons, they don't give up a ton of big plays, but they give up a lot of receptions. JSN is more the wide receiver that fits that mold than DK Metcalf. We've seen that this year in games versus teams that give up a lot of big plays. That's been the games that Metcalf have gone off. It's been JSN facing these kinds of defenses. The tight end is Zach Ertz this week, 3,800 versus Dallas. He is tied 9th from week 11 in first read target share at 35%. The guys that were in front of him, Bowers, Pickens, we're just talking about Jennings, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Cooper Kupp, Garrett Wilson, Puka, T. Higgins, not exactly the guys you expect to see as first read target share leaders with Zach Ertz, but here we are. He's been tight end 11 or better 4 of 7 weeks. He's had 5 targets or more in 6 of his last 7, 4 or more receptions in 4 of 6. If he's, by the way, still out there in your fantasy football leagues, go pick him up. He is a tight end 1, and as defense have adjusted to Daniels, and they have, Ertz targets continue to rise. The first 4 games, 16 targets. His next 4 games, 29 targets. His last 2 games, 15 targets. He keeps getting targeted more and more. He is the security blanket for the young Jaden Daniels. And they're facing the Cowboys D that, I mean, they're real bad. We all saw them on Monday night, but they allow the 6th most touchdowns per game to opposing tight ends and the most yards per reception at over 12.5 per. And that rounds us out with the Bears defense at 2,500. They are at home in a very big game versus Minnesota, so I talked about earlier. At least 3 points scored in each game this year on DraftKings, 4 points or more in 9 of 10. The big deal is they are a different team at home than they are away on defense. They're averaging 10.5 points per game on DraftKings in home games, only 5.25 points per game and away games. And all of a sudden, this Vikings offense not looking so great, particularly outdoors. The last 3 games outdoors, they scored 23 points versus the Titans, 12 versus the Jaguars, 20 versus the Rams. In those games, Sam Darnold averaging 242 yards passing per game, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And the other big one, he's been sacked 10 times in the last 4 games. So I think the Bears, they're a safe defense. And again, you know, my strategy with defenses is you just toe to about 2,700 and below. Yep. Pick the one you like the most, you know, the prettiest girl left at the bar, and you're good to go. So, the Jay Henley special, as we like to call it. So, again, this week we got Baker Mayfield at QB 6,100, Rashad White and Devon Achane at 54 and 7,500. As our running backs, my flex is Tyrone Tracy at 6,000. Wide receivers, Nico Collins 7,600, Roma Dunze 4,800, JSN 6,300. Zach Ertz is the tight end at 3,800, and the Bears D 2,500. Be sure to check out my stuff on Fantasy Six Pack and Fantasy and Frames. Last week in my value article, Jimmy Smith was there. There was a lot of good
you hit
plays,
on a lot last week.
So, you know, be sure to check it out because, again, this stuff changes, and it's a little bit different when you're trying to fit in for 50,000. And I tell people, like, I'm not saying just copy these lineups. You just take these plays that you like the most and throw your own lineup together because most people have more success than I do putting together my plays and having big winning lineups.
Yeah, absolutely. Keith, before we let you go, who's my AFC champion?
You know, a few weeks ago I was still saying it's the Ravens. I just think it's their year. It does concern me to see again. I didn't like the game that my guy Todd Monken called.
You rushed him 13 times. They're still doing weird
his defense,
things.
So Henry had 1 run for like 35 yards.
Yeah.
So the other 11, he was averaging under 2.5 yards per carry.
Yeah.
It's tough if you keep getting, you know, second, third down and 8, third down and 6, 7. So I don't hammer about that. It was more just I didn't see very many design Lamar runs.
Yeah.
The
Steelers just have the Ravens number when it comes to
they do.
Lamar.
He hasn't played them much either, which did you see it's only his 5th start versus them this year, which is insane. You think about this guy's been a starting QB since, I believe, 2018.
Yeah.
So it's just, I guess, injuries and stuff or, you know, a situation where they've had the playoffs locked up, et cetera. But you're absolutely right. And that's definitely, that's a big problem for the Ravens. I mean, honestly, like, I can't pick against the Chiefs. I was just saying I think it's the Ravens. Like, if the Chiefs end up getting home field, which I still think they will, it's going to be really tough to beat those guys at home because their defense is just so good. And I do like the fact they get Pacheco back.
Yeah,
they're going to have
healthier,
2 pretty good backs.
Yep.
Kelsey, you know, we're going to get to see Juju and Hopkins. And these aren't the elite weapons we're used to. But let's be honest. I think they're better than the weapons the Chiefs have had the last 2 years on offense, and they won back-to-back Super Bowls.
No doubt.
The issue is going to be just the three-peat. I do think pressure is going to get to them. When you're doing something no team in NFL history has ever done, even being Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and those guys with all their success, like it matters. You look back to the Warriors in 2016, right? They won the title. They had the most record wins of all time. What did they do? They blew a 3-1 lead because the pressure got to them. So that could be a situation. I think the sleeper in the AFC, those are the Chargers, right?
No, I mean, I love what I love what Harbaugh's doing. I mean, they're a solid team from top to bottom. Obviously, the Bills are kind of coming on a little bit too, but the Bills always just kind of seem to have the Chiefs' number in the regular season, especially at home. So I don't know how.
It feels like the Chiefs give them those wins. Doesn't it feel like that?
Yeah.
Like they're like, we'll give you this one, and then when it really matters, we're going to rip your heart out.
Yeah, we'll rip your heart out in 2 minutes and 16 different plays. All right, real quick before we let you go, Keith, NFC. Detroit or bust?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think Detroit is the clear favorite. They're the best team in football. I mean, it's not even close. But the Hutchinson deal is huge. I don't think people realize, like, his win rate on, like, and pressure rate was the highest in the NFL.
He was still leading even when he was out for a couple weeks.
Exactly. And that's a big deal. Like, I like the trade that they made. They kind of shored that up.
Yeah.
I think that the real deal for them is just going to be, Like, can you get over being the Detroit Lions trying to win an NFC title? And we saw it last year, right? Like, they had the Niners dead to rights.
Oh, the game was over.
And they kind of gagged it away, if you're being honest. Yeah. And as a Falcons fan, I went through this, obviously. I like thinking about it, but 28-3. And it's the same deal. We're that kind of franchise. It just seems to always, Charlie Brown and that football, that stuff matters. Like, the players do think about that stuff. They're human. How could they not? Yeah. So I just worry about, will they get, nervous? Will nerves cause them a game? But as long as they lean on, Gibbs and Montgomery, and I think the big thing is the Super Bowl is in a dome this year, right?
Yeah, I would agree.
So, I'm saying, do you know, is the Super Bowl in a dome this year? Where is the Super Bowl?
It's New Orleans. New Orleans.
Yep. Okay, that's huge for them because they need to be indoors. I think that's a big deal. Golf, just for whatever reason, is better. And golf's played in the Super Bowl, which is huge, too. I watched that awful game in Atlanta. So I'm pulling for the Lions. If my Falcons, can't do it, don't you agree? Like, it's 400, if your Niners are out.
No, 100%. And this is the first time in history that at a current time in the season, the Detroit Lions are favored to win the Super Bowl. Keith,
what a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. They've certainly, I think they're going to be around for a few years, too, in the making, given the lineup that they certainly have.
They're so loaded.
That's for sure. But, Keith, we appreciate you every Wednesday. Go follow Keith on Twitter. That is at Keith Fleming, KeithFleming. Keith, have a great week 12, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. Jay, be good, buddy.
You too, Keith. Take care.
All right, bro.
All right, you guys listen to the Inside Drive. Final segment on this Wednesday coming up next.
ESPN Northwest Florida, your home for Mike Greenberg.
If you have or attend a Friendsgiving, I don't want to be friends with you. I'm not going. I'm not interested in being invited. There's nothing on earth I'd rather do less than host one, and I think it is the dumbest concept I've ever heard in my entire life. The only worse thing than the Friendsgiving is the gender reveal.
Greeny. Weekdays on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Are you hungry for authentic Mexican cuisine? Then come to El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, where we serve up the freshest, most flavorful dishes on the beach. El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, a great location, comfortable atmosphere, and happy hour from 3 to 7. Buy one, get one free, regular margaritas and 12-ounce house drafts. And you're going to love their lunch specials Monday through Friday from 11 to 3. Plus live music Wednesdays and Saturdays starting at 5:30. El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, Thomas Drive, across from the Navy base.
Reliable Copy Products is proud to be the exclusive dealer in Northwest Florida for Kyocera office equipment. Reliable Copy Products has been committed to providing professional, personalized service for the last 35 years. They understand that the right equipment does not always fall within today's budget requirements, so they offer several options for the equipment you need today for the growth you expect tomorrow. Call James Smothers at 784-6601. 784-6601. Reliable Copy Products on Harrison Avenue, just north of Bay High School.
Visit the newly remodeled Mid-South Lumber Hardware and Feed Store in Youngstown. They have a full line of plumbing, electrical, hardware, and tools for your DIY home projects, as well as lumber and animal feed. Now offering not only baby chicks and a full line of poultry supplies, but also bunnies and parakeets. They also carry a wide selection of Duplin wines and gourmet products so you don't have to drive to the beach. Come see us at Mid-South Lumber on Highway 231 in Youngstown.
The only place to get sports betting coverage on the radio. Is this legal? Broadcasting from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios. It's the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey on ESPN Northwest Florida.
And welcome back. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Always good to talk to Keith, and there's just a lot of merit to what he does, no doubt about it.
He's passionate.
He is passionate, and he does the work to make sure you're making as educated as a decision as physically possible. I will say so myself. I do copy quite a bit of his picks and then kind of sprinkle my own stuff in there. But hey, a lot of times if you just take what he does and drop it in there, who cares?
Right.
It's not like it's an English paper. You can copyright it if you want to.
Yeah.
And hey, if you want to win some money, that's certainly a good way to do it because he certainly knows how to win that money. Obviously, on Fridays, we have Joe Bond from, he's the founder of Fantasy Six Pack, and we always do a start-sit segment with him. And from this past week, there was a lot of, this isn't with Joe, but this is just some of the craziest start-sits that you may have made a huge mistake with for your fantasy league. As you know, with not daily fantasy, but our week-long season fantasy, we're getting closer towards that end of the season, people trying to make that final push to the playoffs. So some of the biggest start-sit mistakes from week 11. First one was starting Russell Wilson over Bo Nix. Bo Nix had 28.78 points. Russell Wilson, despite the Steelers winning, only had 7.3. Chris Boswell, I believe, had 6 field goals and like 30 points or something like that. So, but yeah, Bo Nix continues to be trending in the right direction. I know that's one that Keith was on last week in his official DK lineup for Week 11. Next, you had starting Audric Estime over Jameson Williams at flex. Jameson Williams had 20.6 points. Audric Estime only had 4. He was kind of a lot of bye weeks last week, and he was kind of a filler for a lot of people and just didn't get a whole lot of touches there for Denver and the running back. Another one that, was kind of crazy, Derrick Henry and Breece Hall. If you started Derrick Henry, we just talked about it with Keith here a few minutes ago, he only had 10.5 fantasy points, where Breece Hall had a monster game and had 27.6 points. But looking back on that, I don't know how you can really sit Derrick Henry regardless. I think he's leading the league in rushing right now, and maybe not leading anymore, but right there at the top. And then another one, this was the crazy one, in the tight end thing, because this particular gentleman can be a tight end, he can be a wide receiver, he can be various different things. That is Evan Ingram over Taysom Hill. Evan Ingram only had 5.3 points, and Taysom Hill had 38.52 with that ridiculous game he had last week. And then Mark Andrews and Jonnu Smith. There was another play that Keith had let everybody know about. Jonnu Smith had a monster game with 25.1 points, and Mark Andrews, who's kind of, struggled for a while this year and then started getting it going, he only had 3.2 points. But that game was just a tough game in that one. And then T. Higgins was back last week. His impact certainly was huge on the fantasy side of things. So if you started Cedric Tillman over T. Higgins, you were really disappointed. Obviously, Tillman had a great week the week prior, but only had 6.2 fantasy points this past week, and then had T. Higgins had 25.3. So he came back with a vengeance in that one. And then also Aaron Jones over David Montgomery. I just don't know how you can start anybody over Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs at this point. But Aaron Jones, the running back from the Minnesota Vikings, only had 4.8 points. David Montgomery's 23 total points. Obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs had a ton as well. And then Jerry Jeudy and Travis Etienne had only 4.8 points. And Jerry Jeudy, he kind of picked up where Cedric Tillman left off last week with being Jameis Winston's main target there. He had 23.2 points on that one. And then, unfortunately, Ricky Pearsall from the San Francisco 49ers, if you started him over I forget his MVS, Vante Scaling. I forget his first name. But anyway, he had 15.7 points on his first game back for the Saints, and Ricky Pearsall did not catch a football. He had the goose egg there. That one obviously probably hurt a lot of people there. One of the other wide receivers Keith was just talking about, Jackson Smith in Jigba, had 16.8 points for the Seattle Seahawks this past week, and Darnell Mooney for the Falcons only had 3.7. So like anything in fantasy, it can be feast or famine, and then, of course, you're trying to just maximize that, and that's why we encourage you to listen to Keith and Joe Bond, as we have two great fantasy experts, one in your weekly fantasy, one in your daily fantasy. And then, of course, Juwan Jennings had a good week last week for the Niners, 20.1 points. Zay Flowers only had 10.9. The Ravens kind of peaked a little bit last week, and this one, Terry McLaurin had a brutal week last week for the Commanders, only 1.5 points. If you started hitting over Devontae Adams, I think it was the right decision to make, but Devontae Adams had 10.2 points. Not the biggest thing out there, Jay Henley.
Yes, sir.
You're looking pretty good. I was doing some picks this morning, and was doing my research on the inside, or not the inside drive, but on the Pigskin Pick'em. Oh yeah. And you know who's at the top?
I saw that. I can't believe it.
I can. Yeah, I can. What's that blind squirrel thing everybody talks about?
Yeah,
so first place in the 850 Pick'em group is the bus driver, aka Jay Henley. Wow. And you're actually starting to stretch it a little bit. Kyle Albritton was kind of leading this thing most of the season, but I don't know what's transpired the last few weeks, but you're 119 and 47. You're in the 99.9th percentile out of all ESPN Pigskin Pick'em entries, and you currently have a 50-point lead over Kyle Albritton, 60-point lead over Barrett Townsend, and a 80-point lead over Mark McLeod.
Well, I give you and David credit, for telling me things throughout the week, and when I make my picks on Saturday, I take what you tell me, and then run with it.
Do you feel more pressure now that you have this lead so late in the season to try to? Because it's winner take all.
Yeah,
it's first place.
I tell you, I feel like it made a transition whenever Tua came back, and whoever they were playing that week, I had, and then I was like, you know what, with Tua coming back.
You flipped it.
I flipped it.
And the rest is history.
And the rest has kind of came to fruition. But there's still a lot of football left.
Oh, yeah. We're only week 12.
Still
week 12,
a lot of
we got
football.
18 total weeks. 6 more weeks to go.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm just curious. I've got my picks in already. Who do you got? We'll just go through this real fast, okay? All right. Putting you on the spot. Have you done yours yet?
Oh, let's see.
It's okay. You can.
I have.
Okay.
I have.
All right. Steelers-Browns. Thursday Night Football. Who you got?
I don't know. What if Kyle's listening though?
That's just. He probably is.
Huh?
He probably is.
Then he can.
All right. Well, then don't just tell me who you're picking. You don't necessarily. You could lie to me. That's up to you.
Nah, you know what? I'll go. We'll go with it.
I mean, if he picks all the same things, he's not going to gain on you. So
Yeah,
he's
that's
got to
true.
pick different ones than you pick. So actually, it's a strategy that would be beneficial for you if he picked all your picks.
All right, let's go here. All right,
Steelers-Browns.
Steelers-Browns.
Thursday Night Football in Paul Brown Stadium up there in Cleveland.
Oh, yeah. Let's take a look.
It's taking a long time to get there.
We are in week 12.
Correct.
I've got the Steelers.
Okay. All right. Vikings-Bears.
Vikings.
All right. Lions-Colts. Doc A will be at that one with the governor of Indianapolis.
Detroit.
All right. Dolphins-Patriots.
I've got the Dolphins winning this one.
Bucks-Giants.
Bucks.
Commanders-Cowboys.
I've got the Commanders.
Okay. Chiefs-Panthers.
The Chiefs.
Okay. Texans-Titans.
Texans.
Okay. Broncos-Raiders.
Broncos.
Niners-Packers.
You got to go with those Niners.
Yeah, so I got two. So far, we've had everybody the same. But
Really?
Yeah, I think Green Bay could win that game easily. It's a must-win for San Francisco at this point. Green Bay's favorite.
Where is
It's
that?
in Lambeau.
Okay.
And Seahawks-Cardinals. Who you got for this one?
I've got the Cardinals.
Okay, see, I got the Seahawks. In this one. All right, Philadelphia and Los Angeles.
Philadelphia.
Okay, I got Philly. And then last but not least, your Monday Night Football, Ravens-Chargers, which is going to be a great Monday Night Football game out there at SoFi Stadium.
I went with the Ravens. I bet you went with the Chargers.
I did.
Yep.
I did. I think the Chargers are trending in the right direction now that Kansas City has lost a game. I feel like they've got an opportunity now to potentially have a shot at that AFC West title if they can continue to win and the Chiefs maybe drop a couple. Referencing back what, I forget who said something earlier about it, but Michael Irvin came out and said Dion would 100% accept the Cowboys head coaching job if they were to draft Shedeur Sanders. 100%, I can tell you, good sources have told me that, great sources have told me that, Michael Irvin, on if Deion Sanders would accept the potential Cowboys jobs if they draft Shedeur Sanders. Obviously, Deion has come out publicly and said he's not going anywhere. He's got his kickstand down in Colorado. He's comfortable. He's having fun. That's obviously all the stuff you have to say because you're dealing with recruiting and all that. But what do you think? You think we could see Deion as a head coach in the NFL?
I think Smitty said it the other day, but I think he's where he needs to be, and I think he's planted the seed there, and I think he's a good college football coach because, I mean, the guys that are failing in their grades at Colorado, they're not playing football. And I don't know if it's a show that I'm seeing on these reels that I'm seeing, if it's a show, then it's a really good show.
Yeah.
But, man, what a great – I think he can change lives at Colorado. Can he change lives at Dallas?
required monthly test of the emergency alert system. Had this been an actual emergency or dangerous situation, official messages and directions would have followed the alert tones. This test is brought to you by the Florida Division of Emergency Management, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and your local broadcast station or cable provider. This concludes the required monthly test.
Quarterback is now Tommy Cutlitz is the starting quarterback. Drew Lock is the backup. Jay?
Yes, sir.
We'll do it one more time tomorrow. Have some fun. You guys have been listening to the Inside Drive. Afternoon Underdogs coming up at 4 p.m. Y'all have a great rest of your Wednesday. Going to get a little cool. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
ESPN Northwest Florida, the Paul Feinbaum Show.
The answer is it's the most valuable franchise in sports. Deion Sanders has proven his point in Boulder. Listen, it's not like I talk to Deion Sanders every day, but I'm just guessing that considering he played there, is friends with the owner calls and says, we need you to save this franchise, Deion will take the phone call.
Paul Feinbaum, weeknights, 6 to 10 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Wednesday's weather. The rest of the day, there will be a moderate breeze out of the north-northwest, clear skies and 77. Clear skies tonight, much colder at 50 and a wind coming out of the north at 14 miles per hour. Tomorrow, sunny and a moderate breeze right around 14 miles per hour with a high of 64. About the same at 63 Friday, and we'll have sunshine. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
It's the season of New Tradition sales event going on now at Bill Bird Kia. Now offering 1.9% APR for up to 60 months of the purchase of a new 2025 Kia Sorento or a new 2025 Kia Sportage. Take your next holiday adventure in a brand new Kia from Bill Bird Kia. You'll get the perfect balance of comfort, safety, and technology. Bill Bird Kia is the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us at 2435 East 15th Street or anytime at BillBirdKia.PanamaCity.com.
Offer from Kia Finance America for the purchase of a new 2025 Kia Sorento or new 2025 Kia Sportage with $1,748 per month per 1,000 financed in 60 months. Quality is limited, not to be combined with other finance offers and not available on balloon financing. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty. See dealer for complete details. Offer for well-qualified buyers. Must take